On this particular boat, we're going to use a constant height ridge pole. What that means basically is the ridge pole will be the same height from bow to stern, but we have to determine the height of the ridge pole. In order to do that, we're going to go to the widest point of the boat, and we want to be a minimum of about 8 inches above the height of the lifeline stanchion with our rib on each side. Fred's matching what I have, and then in the center we're going to measure. Once we've got that 8 inches, and see what the center height is on this one, it's 36 inches is what we're going to run the ridge pole at. Now if this boat had a cabin top or anything higher, you might want to use the ridge pole that tapers down towards the bow and tapers down towards the stern. You go over the highest point and then angle down towards the stern and down towards the bow. But we always get the height of that ridge pole at the widest, highest point of the boat. The second part of determining the height of the ridge pole, what we're going to do is take 2 pieces of tubing and put them together. That'll be long enough for us to reach the bow. We'll tighten the screws. In making the first piece of the ridge pole, what we're going to do is put a rubber tip on the bottom of this piece of tubing, and then we're going to hold it where it's going to be placed, which will be right here. Pick up our tubing, hold it at the 36-inch mark. When it's level, we're going to put a mark. That'll give us a place to bend this piece of tubing for the first ridge pole. All right, now we've bent the first ridge pole. This bend is kind of different on every boat. It's just basically you're going to have to look at what you need and bend it accordingly. Sometimes if you bend a little too much, you can take some bend out, but what you want is try to have the upright sitting in a good spot on the deck like this is. It can be straight up or a slight angle to it. And then when it levels out at the top, it's going to be at your 36-inch height. Now if you were to make this too long, just determine how much too long it is. If it's 1 inch or 2, take the rubber tip off, cut it off the bottom and bring it back down. That's the first ridge pole in place. Then we're going to fasten it with a cover clamp. We're going to install the second piece of ridge pole. In order to hold it up, we need a temporary brace. We're going to make an X brace out of 2 pieces of tubing. We've installed rubber tips on the bottom so they won't damage the deck. We're going to put one on the outside here, one on the opposite side, like so. And then we're going to put the cover clamp on. We're going to measure 36 inches. Hold that there, Fred. We're going to tighten the clamp. Okay, just snug the clamp a little bit. Then we're going to take our straight ridge pole, put it on top of this, put it in the end of ridge pole number 1, and we're going to tighten these screws. Always the screws that are face down so they don't interfere with the cover or damage the cover. Now the height of the ridge pole is level to the plane of the boat basically at this point. We've made it center with our X brace, and we're going to clamp it in place with another clamp which will keep the X brace from moving forward and back. Okay, now we've got our ridge pole started. We'll put another one on, which will be ridge pole number 3, and we'll keep moving towards the stern. installed another piece of ridge pole and made another temporary brace to hold it in place. The ridge pole is level, a level plane down the length of the boat and centered on the boat. Now I'm going to mark the stern ridge pole, the last piece. All right, we're going to install the last piece of tubing in the coupling. We're going to tighten the screw to hold it in place. Just one screw is enough, just to hold it temporarily. And then what we're going to do is mark, we want to lay it against the bow rail, or the stern rail at this point. And it's sitting on the deck with a rubber tip on it. And we're going to mark where the two tubings meet now. That's where we're going to make our bend, at that line. Now we've bent our tubing on the mark, and we did it the same way we did all our other bends. This line, we lined it up with the star on the bender and made the bend to match the height of the ridge pole. Now we're going to insert it into the coupling, and we're going to tighten the screws. And then we're going to put a clamp to hold it to the rear rail. Again, with the nut facing in, always have the nuts facing in so they don't interfere with the cover. And the rubber goes between the two pieces of tubing. And we just tighten it up. That's the last piece of ridge pole installed. Now our ridge pole is completed.